This is the second try. Okay, wait, I have to adjust the brightness. So this is the second try on filming this video. I kind of had to do a small do-it-yourself type of camera rig, putting my phone on the selfie camera on, what do you call them, the visors that you flip down in the front seat of cars to block out the sunlight. On this car it has an expandable plastic part that you can slide out, like on the right side you can slide it out to the left, so you can slide it towards the middle of the car. So I slid that out and placed my phone with the holder like lapped over it, but then it was shaking way too much, like from just inertia. So I took a dog pooping bag. I have not a used one, obviously. Okay, this is still shaking a lot. That is probably due to the extension of that arm. So I took one of those plastic poop bags and spun it around and tied it up. So it's better. It's far from perfect, but it's better. So this video might look a little shaky, so if you're prone to motion sickness, I suggest listening instead of watching. So this is also kind of new-ish, talking to a phone. I'm more accustomed to this because when I was on vacation in the States when I was working at a school, and the students wanted me to do a vlog while I was there, so I kind of get used to talking to a phone, so it feels slightly more natural than just talking to a computer, which I did last night. So the whole point of this video is, well, two things. One, to explain why I'm not going to be posting anything for about a week, because I'm excited to post stuff and try out new things and build projects and see if it can help anyone feel, well, we'll probably all be confused, but we'll be confused together. So I'm going to tell you why I can't be doing that for about a week, and also a history of my coding experience, just so you know where I'm at, where I've been, and so on, so you don't think that I'm some elite programmer or whatever, so you just know where I'm actually at this point. So let me just lower the temperature in here. It's freezing outside in northern Sweden, but it's super hot in the car, so the juxtapositions of life. And the road is kind of bumpy, so yeah, the motion sickness is kind of part of it right now for you guys. But like I said, you can just listen to this, browse around or something while listening, if you don't want to look at my face directly. Okay, so first of all, I'm not going to be able to post content because I'm currently driving down to Stockholm, which, like I said in the previous video, is about a 6-hour drive. So I'm going down there for my grandfather's funeral, and he's been an inspiration for sure. He was going to turn 99 years old this year, so he had a long, very cool life. Also worked in the tech industry, but in communications a longer time ago, so putting up phone networks and so on when that was emerging. So we're going down there, and yeah, and then after that, so it's Thursday today, Friday tomorrow is the funeral, and then on Saturday I'm going back up again, not all the way back home to my place, but somewhere like 2/3 of the way, where the national championships for free skiing is taking place, where I am a judge. Coming from a background of free skiing myself, having skied since I was probably 3 years old, and having competed and stuff, and just generally loving skiing. I've been judging for the past, I think, 4 seasons now. So I'm doing a pit stop there for 3 days, and then I'm going back home. So I'll be back home probably Tuesday night, and hopefully I won't be tired, or so tired that I can't make a video, because I have so many ideas I want to get started with. And then Wednesday, I just got this phone call, like just a little while ago. So I said in the previous video where I mentioned that I wrote a 3-page essay on my coding history, which was kind of vague, but I was more or less talking to a big tech company in this town, that I got a referral to someone who works there, and they wanted to know what I've been doing and what my plans are, etc. So I kind of wrote them a letter telling them where I've been and what I've been doing and what I'm doing now and what I'm focused at becoming, and that I would love to get some form of internship or something where I can learn the ropes of also working in a bigger company while also learning to code myself. And they just called me up and asked if I could come in for a meeting on Wednesday, so the day after I come back. So I'm super excited about that. Did not expect it to be that fast, since I sent the email like yesterday, or like 2 a.m. or something, just a couple of hours ago, or like 10 hours ago. So yeah, I'm super excited about that. And that brings me to the second point of this video, which is talking about my coding history. And like I've said, I am a beginner. I guess it's a relative term. I have coding experience, so it's not like I just popped open a computer the first time yesterday and started looking at programming for the very first time. But I'm not an efficient programmer by any means. So I would call myself a beginner. Okay, so approximately 10 years ago, I have to learn how to articulate better when I'm talking to you guys. Okay, so 10 years ago-ish, I was studying in high school and also doing, I was studying freestyle skiing. We can like have majors in high school in Sweden, and my major was freestyle skiing. So I was there, did not have, I mean, I was like video games and stuff, but not to the extent where I was primarily playing video games. Like I had a PlayStation 1 and the original Xbox when I was younger, and I always enjoyed it, and I always had a curiosity about how things worked, but I never did anything about that. So since skiing was my primary I want to say function in life, but my primary hobby or interest, so when I was around, I would say 16, I'm 25 now, I started playing Counter-Strike on a friend's computer, Counter-Strike 1.6, and I got super hooked. I thought it was like so much fun to just play. I would even go on there and just start a new game server where if you play Counter-Strike 1.6, you know, without plugins and everything, you're literally alone on a map. So you just run around. I was just stoked, like, oh, I can buy weapons and I can go around shooting on walls. it was just like, it was super fun to me. And so I didn't have a computer at the time. I mean, like, we had a family computer, but nothing on my own. So I think I got to borrow his computer, and then I bought a gaming computer from his brother with a screen and everything, or monitor. So this is also a good way for me to teach myself English or practice. Okay, so after that I started gaming a lot. Like, I started playing hide and seek, which is a mod in Counter-Strike, which, I mean, I was so hooked on it. Like, I think I had around 6,000 hours played on Counter-Strike in around, I think it was like 3 years. So I think I calculated it sometime to average out at about like 10 hours of playing per day or something like that. Like, I was playing a lot. So school kind of had to jump into the backseat during that period. And I'm not saying that was a good choice, but it was the choice that I wanted to do then. I was always kind of like uninterested in school, like to the point where I would it was just so hard for me to grasp going to class and just sitting there. It was just, I couldn't do it. Like, most of the time I would just go out and do something else, which again is probably not the best way to do it, but that's just how I worked. So the computer really spoke to me, and during that time I got into this huge hide and seek community where I started playing regularly and talked to the other people on there. Oh wow, that was a beautiful Audi A7. Black with black rims. Okay, digressing as per usual. So the people I played with were, one of the people, the founder of this community was, like, I didn't realize it at the time, but he was a really, really good coder. I mean, I knew that he was good, but not until now, when I started learning, like, on my own, have I realized how good he was, especially for that time, having more limited resources learning. And he didn't go to college or anything, he just taught himself, and he built this great web forum, this whole community, and hosted all the servers on his own, built a bunch of plugins and stuff that no one even thought about building. So Raggy was his name. If you're listening, or if anyone knows of him, I mean, he was the man. And then there was this other guy who was coding, who just started coding in college, or going to college to learn how to code, or he had done some previous coding, and he was also just like it was just so hard for me to grasp the things they were talking about, because they were talking about it so fluently. And I mean, a lot of the things now I can see is somewhat basic, but still, it was just like, it sounded so cool to me. Like, code for me in the beginning, I was lured like into it because of its aesthetics, I think. Like, I always loved technology stuff, and I thought like gadgets were cool, and screens and buttons and shiny things, like, starting to sound more like a crow, but that was kind of like how I rolled. But I never once looked into programming prior to that, and I think I can't remember the actual first time being introduced to code, but like I said, it was the aesthetics of code that was like the first. I think it was like after watching the first Iron Man movie or something that I was first like I had this big picture in my mind that I could build all these things to like a mix of hardware and software. So I bought like a soldering iron and a bunch of stuff and started tinkering about with that, and then started to look into code and stuff. like there's just something about nicely indented and formatted code that just like, I don't know, it just looked cool to me with the syntax highlighting and everything. It just like, I didn't know what it meant. I just knew that, like, I know it's probably weird. I don't know if anyone else kind of thinks of code that way. I mean, most people like what the code is doing when it's executed and like the solutions itself. And I mean, I love that too. But it was just something about how code looked that kind of talked to me. And so I started just like, I don't know, probably just like trying. I remember trying to code the plugins that I talked about him doing for the video game for Counter-Strike, but that was just like way out of my league. So since it was like a super hard and like really weird language for me to start with at the time, kind of didn't make sense to me. So I think I started with like some basic HTML stuff, but I don't know, my I don't think I was ready at the time to grasp coding as a whole. I was just like way too into just gaming, that was always the thing that was prevalent in my mind. So I just fast forward a couple of years, I was still just playing video games. Like I said, probably 3 years where I was playing that intense before starting to do other stuff. So 2014, I started studying, like I wanted to raise my grades from high school in order to apply to college in the US, because I love America, like, as a country, and I've always wanted to go there. So I was like, well, let's go. Like, a friend of mine wanted to do a pilot license over there, so I was like, let's go. I'll study programming. Let's do this. And the courses I could take that could increase my scores from my high school or my high school grades were 2 programming courses in C#, 1 web development course, and 1 kind of like a computer network course. And I remember the programming courses, like looking back at them, they were kind of outdated, and the web design one was as well. But it was something for me to start with. But it was not, I wouldn't say an optimal learning experience for someone who is like interested in coding, and then it was just like this really like old school type of projects. It wasn't anything like try building this, or you can do this with this technology, or like I like real life examples for me to grasp things. Like I could read my way to it, but when someone says, I don't know, for example, if you're doing a website and they're talking about some database stuff, just like arbitrarily, I mean, I could get it, but it would be, and it is a lot better when they say something like, oh yeah, you can imagine like on Facebook where this would be the comments and this would be the post itself and stuff like that. And those courses had like 0, that it was just like pure theoretical knowledge, and it wasn't super fun, but I did them, and that was like cool, I guess. Got a lot of help from the gamers that I coded with, and so, but like it was always like I would say just like I was just like scratching the surface, kind of curious about it, but I never really, scratching the surface is probably not a good metaphor, but it was like feeling the water, although I really wanted to just dive in, but I just never kind of did it. So when I went to college, I was going to study computer science. First semester I had 4 courses, because apparently you have to do general education as well in America, which I did not know. Poor research on my end. Another A7. What? Alright, and I did English 110. I think early American history 108 or something, and then I did intro to programming, which was purely logic, no language at all, and intro to Java. And I was super stoked to be there, like super great weather, California. I'm a skateboarder as well, so it was just like perfect for me. And then like when we get there, the dollar increases in value and the Swedish krone, which is our currency, decreased in value. So all of a sudden there's like a shift of like, I think closer to 40% in like the exchange rate between the krone and the dollar. So everything becomes a lot more expensive, like paying for college, renting an apartment, which was a lot more expensive than what we anticipated, and I just couldn't afford to stay there, which was a bummer, and I couldn't work on an H1 visa. So I mean, I probably, looking back at it, I could have probably solved it somehow, but life does what it does, and I'm not big on regretting things, so I try to just look at things as either directly positive or indirectly positive as knowledge from learning. Like if something bad happens, just try to look at it as some form of, like, you can always find something to learn from experiences, is what I'm saying. So I moved back home, and I was like, oh man, coding is probably out the window for me. And that was that for a while. I think, yeah, I moved to Norway, worked in like a chocolate factory, right? And then I moved back to Sweden, just did some random stuff. Like I always kept on, I always loved technology and kept up with like the tech trends and looked at stuff online and played video games, but I didn't touch code at all until I think last summer when I was in America. I met this guy named Eli that I instantly became like best friends with. Like we had so much fun together, and he actually came back to Sweden with me, and he also wanted to learn how to code, and his father and his mother are both coders who did computer science in college back in the day, and they were super knowledgeable and stuff. And so we started learning like a little bit on Udacity and stuff, and then that kind of phased out, and he had to move back to the US, and I just kind of, I don't know, it just, I lost motivation because of it, and that was like mainly or largely on me. But nonetheless, fast forward about a year where I'd been working like as a support, what do you call, like a customer care support type figure, which was just like not my pace. Like I get so frustrated if I do not get like challenged in some way during a day, and if 8 hours out of my day is just answering questions that I answer every day that are super simple to look up, it just didn't float for me at all. So I switched to a more technical role, which I wanted to be or hoped to be like software engineering, going towards it at least, but it wasn't. I was kind of fooled by the title of the job, but nonetheless, during both of those jobs I started looking into learning how to code again, and started like doing a little bit of YouTube videos here and there, going into like free code camp now and then. And I started, I don't remember in which order it was, but I probably started looking at like Brad Traversy and his videos, Traversy Media. And I found a podcast called Learn to Code With Me, where they just, I mean, Traversy Media, he has a bunch of tutorials and also like inspirational stuff, and he tells everyone how he didn't have a technical background at all and kind of had a hard life, and then turned it around and learned how to code for himself, and now he's like this super like talented coder, and is teaching everyone basically for free on YouTube. And the podcast was just this girl interviewing about, first talking about her own coding experience, learning how to code, and then interviewing other people from various tech backgrounds and non-tech backgrounds, and how they got to where they are. So it kind of started with the thing that I was missing before, was like the whole motivation and like personal development act behind learning how to code. Not just sitting down and writing code, but like understanding the difficulties, the hurdles that everyone goes through, and I just could relate to so many of the things they were saying, and it just made me feel a lot more at ease with not knowing stuff, and like when something is hard, I can just remind myself that, I mean, a lot of these top grade programmers were doing this exact thing themselves, and that it's more about like building systems that help you to learn, like doing a routine and sticking to it and stuff like that. So I would say around October, like what is it, 5 months ago, I bought Cold Steel's Web Developer Bootcamp series on Udemy, and also a design course on Udemy. Can't remember the creator, but like UX UI design. And I just said to myself, like, I'm going to code every day, like even if it's just for 20 minutes or something, just like sit down, watch tutorials and try to code along, just do something. And then usually once you start, you kind of get the momentum going and you just keep going. So it's not until now, like this is the first time, like since I've started up learning how to code a couple of times now, this is the first time where it actually feels like I am actively moving towards my goals and actually making progress as far as putting myself out there, and just like knowing that it can be hard, like, but it's so worth it, and to be part of this technical revolution that's been going on for, I mean, the past 20 years or so, but more current one. So that's where I'm at now, and I would say, since I've gone through the boot camp, or not the full boot camp, but like I don't know, 60% or so, a bunch of YouTube videos, I'm slightly above like just a new beginner. Like I know how to make a basic looking website with CSS and HTML. Still shaky on the JavaScript, but I'm getting there, like as one small section at a time. But like that's where I'm at. I'm not advanced in any way, kind of form, or in a way, shape or form, I think is the saying. And I'm not either, I mean, I know what an H1 tag is. I know how to select stuff using the DOM, I think, ish. Yeah. But the main thing is, I feel like I know this stuff, but once I sit down and code, I still have to Google like a bunch of stuff that I thought that I already knew, because like when you're looking at tutorials, like, yeah, I can do that, and then when you try to replicate it, it's like, ah, shit, what am I supposed to do now again? So that's kind of where I'm at, and hopefully I can just like, I'm not sure how I'm going to structure the videos, if I'm just going to make projects and just screencast the entire thing, like just commenting on what I'm doing or how I'm going to do it. But that's something I can think about during these days that I'm away. And I got a comment on Reddit, because I posted this to Learn Programming, the subreddit, and one fellow there recommended that I should make a portfolio as the first project here, and then I can make all the following projects and post them on that portfolio. So I think that's going to be a good start, doing the portfolio, because that's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. I started it, I had a picture in my mind and everything, but I just didn't do it. Like I made the boilerplate for the HTML, like the skeleton of the HTML, no actual content or anything, just like the HTML tags, body tags, head tags, stuff like that. And so I think the first video series or whatever is going to be me building my portfolio, and try to not have this perfectionist mindset where I have to make it super great in the beginning and have this amazing portfolio, but just like making a basic portfolio at first, and then maybe going back and changing it once I get better, and you guys can see how I do that when I know how to do that. So this is all going to be like real time. It's not like, oh, I'm going to make a website that I already know exactly how to do and just like walk you guys through what I'm doing, but it's more going to be me not knowing what I'm doing and you guys getting to tag along, watching me figure out how to do stuff. So, okay, now I've been talking for probably 30 minutes or so, and I hope that the audio quality is not too bad. I mean, I am driving, so there could be some background noise that is super annoying. In that case, I'm gonna look into trying to make it better. I'm not sure I can do it, but like from my phone right now, since I figure I might as well just post this right away, not edit it or anything, since I think most of the stuff here is going to be pretty raw. The coding videos, I'm probably going to sit around reading a bunch of stuff, and that's probably not going to be super interesting for you guys to just watch a screen scroll down where I'm reading, unless I'm kind of reading out loud, I guess. But in those cases, I might cut some pieces out where I'm just quiet and then just recap what I've read. But other than that, I'm gonna try to edit these as little as possible and just kind of show you because I'm kind of like tired of how glorified a lot of things are, where it gets to the point that you kind of think that this is the norm for everyone, how like great, like, you know how it is with Instagram and everything, where everyone just posts their the best pictures when they're living their best life and being out doing all these cool things, but not talking about like having anxiety, having bad days and everything. And then when you see that like all over, for example, your Instagram feed, you think that everyone else's life is perfect all the time, and that makes your very normal, very small problems blow up in proportion, because you think that everyone else is having like no problems at all. And that's kind of what I want to do here as well, kind of just like show you just like how it is. If it's easy, it's easy. If it's hard, then it's hard, and then I'm not going to glorify it. I'm going to be pissed off and probably be like, fuck, why can't I do this? And not just say like, oh yeah, this is super easy to fix. I'm a positive guy, so I'm probably not going to be negative about the whole thing, but sometimes coding can get frustrating as hell. And yeah, I'm just going to try to make these as real as possible, and also try to keep them somewhat interesting, so I don't just like have 10 minutes of silence in a video. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully once I recognize now in hindsight that I should have filmed for about a minute or something and just like driven and talked random words and then listened to it to see how the audio was before doing like a 30-minute video. Because if it's bad, then I mean, shit, I don't want to do this again. I don't know half the things I've been saying. I mean, I know what I've been saying, but I can't recall it perfectly. So that would just like, I would probably miss out on a bunch of stuff. And also I'm kind of tired from talking non-stop for this long. So I'm going to put on either some music or put on a podcast with some coding stuff and drink some coffee and just enjoy the scenery of driving down Winter Wonderland. So until I think, well, Tuesday, Wednesday somewhere, it's probably going to be one of the next posts, I think. So let me know if you guys watched this whole video. Let me know in the comments, because I'm kind of curious how many people actually watched the whole thing. And also if you have anything you want me to improve or any ideas or anything, just drop a comment below. I'm always open for constructive criticism. Like if you think something is bad, and that's just like a general rule I have, like if you think someone's doing something bad, just tell them, but in a constructive manner. Like, oh hey, I see you do this, try making this instead because of this and that, instead of just being a dick and saying holy shit you suck because of this. It's like small difference, but kind of makes the world a little happier place to be in. So just leave some constructive criticism if there's anything you want me to address, and the next video will be me starting a portfolio, I think. So later.